USS Ronald Reagan has docked in Hong Kong. The deployment of the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, along with the earlier show of force involving B-1B Lancer bombers off the North Korean coast, is expected to draw a strong backlash from Pyongyang. According to the Ministry of National Defense, the USS Ronald Reagan Strike Group will conduct naval drills off the peninsula in late October. Though exact details are classified, 4 destroyers and 2 submarines for the drills could accompany the nuclear-powered warship. Sources claim that the U.S. is considering taking the most daring step against Kim. Pentagon bosses could send strike force into the territorial waters of North Korea, reports state. U.S. warships could cross the so-called Northern Limit Line, NLL, the maritime border separating the North and South established at the end of the Korean War. In this video, Defense Updates will analyze how powerful USS Ronald Reagan is and why North Korea should fear it. So, let us get into the details.
Number 5.
USS Ronald Reagan, CVN-76, is the 9th United States Navy Nimitz-class supercarrier and is named after Ronald W. Reagan, former President of the United States. The ship was launched in 2001 and commissioned on the 12th of July, 2003. In October 2015, Ronald Reagan replaced the USS George Washington as the flagship of Carrier Strike Group 5, the only forward-based carrier strike group homeported at Yokosuka, Japan, as part of the United States 7th Fleet.
Number 4.
USS Ronald Reagan, being a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, was designed to be an improvement on previous U.S. aircraft carriers, in particular the Enterprise and Forrestal class. All 10 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers, including USS Ronald Reagan, were constructed between 1968 and 2006 at Newport News Shipbuilding Company, Virginia, in the largest dry dock in the Western Hemisphere. These are some of the largest vessels constructed. USS Ronald Reagan has a displacement of 100,000 tons and overall length of 332.8 meters. That's 1,092 feet. To give viewers a perspective, it's about 3 football fields long.
Number 3.
USS Ronald Reagan is powered by 2 A4W nuclear reactors kept in separate compartments. These power 4 propeller shafts and can produce a maximum speed of over 30 knots or 56 kilometers per hour. As a result of the use of nuclear power, the ship is capable of operating continuously for over 20 years without refueling and is predicted to have a service life of over 50 years. Practically, it has an unlimited range and endurance. It must be noted that North Korea doesn't possess any warship close to the stature of USS Ronald Reagan, and none of North Korean vessels are nuclear powered.
Number 2.
The angled flight decks of USS Ronald Reagan use a Kato bar arrangement to operate aircraft, with steam catapults and arrestor wires for launch and recovery. As well as speeding up flight deck operations, this allows for a much wider variety of aircraft than with the Stovall arrangement used in smaller carriers. It carries a flight group of more than 60 aircraft, including F-18 jet fighters. These are twin-engine, supersonic, all-weather, carrier-capable, 4th-generation, multi-role fighter aircrafts. They have a payload of 7,700 kilograms, that's 17,000 pounds, and can carry ground attack weapons as well as air-to-air missiles. The versatility of the aircraft can be gauged from the fact that on the first day of Operation Desert Storm, 2 F-18, each carrying 4 2,000-pound bombs, shot down 2 Iraqi MiGs and then proceeded to deliver their bombs on target. The overwhelming majority of Pyongyang's air fleet is made up of 1950s and 1960s vintage machines, which even includes Chinese derivatives of very old fighters like MiG-17 and MiG-19. The MiG-29 is the Korean People's Army Air Force's, KPAF, most modern fighter, and it operates approximately 40 of these. The actual availability of these will be much less, as North Korea has very little access to spare parts and other maintenance infrastructure due to sanctions. Hence, the flotilla of aircrafts on board USS Ronald Reagan has more than enough firepower to mount a credible offensive against any North Korean misadventure.
Number 1.
Nimitz-class possesses multitude of different radars, including electronically scanned array 3D radars. It's equipped with 16 to 24 RIM-7 Sea Sparrow missiles. RIM-7 Sea Sparrow is a U.S. shipborne short-range anti-aircraft and anti-missile weapon system, primarily intended for defense against anti-ship missiles. Its range is 19 kilometers. Close-in weapon (CIWS) duties are performed by Phalanx and RIM-116 rolling airframe missile. Phalanx CIWS has a 4,500 per minute rate of fire. RIM-116 rolling airframe missiles have speed in excess of 2 Mach. The other countermeasures the ship uses are 4 Scipion SRBOC Super Rapid Bloom Offboard Chaff 6-barrel Mark 36 decoy launchers, which deploy infrared flare and chaff to disrupt the sensors of incoming missiles, a Surface Ship Torpedo Defense System SSTDS, and an AN-SLQ-25 Nixie torpedo countermeasure system. The carriers also use AN-SLQ-32V radar, jamming and deception systems to detect and disrupt hostile radar signals, in addition to the electronic warfare capabilities of some of the aircraft on board, like the EA-18G Growlers. It must be noted that USS Ronald Reagan doesn't move alone, but is deployed along with other assets. A typical strike group may include, in addition to the aircraft carrier, 1 or 2 guided missile destroyers that are used primarily for anti-aircraft warfare and anti-submarine warfare, as well as 1 or 2 attack submarines for seeking out and destroying hostile surface ships and submarines. The tension surrounding the peninsula has been escalating with aggressive rhetoric between the U.S. and North Korea. U.S. President Donald Trump said North Korean Kim Jong-un and his regime won't be around much longer, while the North's Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho responded that such words were a clear declaration of war, and his country will exercise self-defense, including the right to shoot down U.S. strategic bombers, even if they don't fly into the country's airspace. Besides the carrier strike group, an Aegis destroyer will conduct a separate drill off the peninsula with the South Korean Navy and the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force from the end of this month to early next month, according to the U.S. Ministry of Defense. It remains to be seen how the situation pans out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.